Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on QNT. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about QNT. Now this was a crypto I haven't done a video on in a little bit of time. And it was because most people, when I did a video, they would say, yeah, but there's no announcements around it. I think QNT is a dead cryptocurrency. I was like, you're totally wrong on that. It's going to be absolutely massive in the future. Now we're starting to see some major announcements. Quant collaborates with BIS and the Bank of England on Project Rosalind. We are proud to announce our role as part of the vendor team for Project Rosalind. The project, led by the Bank of International Settlements and the Bank of England, explored how application programming interfaces could be used for central bank digital currency systems. Now, this is what Project Rosalind is. Here's a quick video on it.
Central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, are digital forms of cash. Many central banks are exploring the use of CBDCs to buy goods and services in shops and online. Project Rosalind, from the BIS Innovation Hub London Centre and the Bank of England, is testing how APIs could enable retail CBDC payments and support innovation. The project builds a prototype of this API. APIs define how systems should talk to each other. The prototype connects central bank ledgers with private sector service providers. It experiments with API functionalities that would enable providers to develop applications. These applications would help individuals and businesses to manage their CBDC balances with the central bank and make payments to each other in shops and online. Working with collaborators from the public and private sectors, the project explored many CBDC use cases. Some use cases tested integration with existing payment systems, some tried new ways to make payments, and some tested applications with emerging technology. The project explored how the API prototype could support private sector programmability. For example, after placing an order, a customer could agree to put away a certain amount of CBDCs so that a merchant could have certainty that the customer will be able to pay. Programmability could also allow payments to be triggered when agreed conditions are met, so that consumers would only be charged when their orders are delivered. The project also tested a privacy model that would not give the central bank access to users' personal data. The Rosalind experiment shows that the API prototype could support many different use cases and could work with different central bank ledger technologies. It could connect the central bank, service providers, individuals, and businesses to create an ecosystem. New ways to make payments could be added as the ecosystem continues to innovate. Project Rosalind, building API prototypes for retail CBDC ecosystem innovation.
You know what they said there at the BIS, in this video, they talked about privacy around the CBDC. Now, anytime I ever talked about a CBDC, right away in the comments section, people said, that's the slavery system of the future. And I always said, in the right hands, a CBDC can be used to make things much simpler. In the wrong hands, it can be used as a slavery system because they could shut off your money. They could control what you buy with CBDC in the future. But even Gilbert Verdian talked about privacy as well. I'll share that with you in this video. So this goes beyond just the Bank of England. The project has produced tangible, real-world examples that tested how CBDCs could support a more digitalized economy in the future, working with participants like Bank of Canada, Barclays, MasterCard, and Amazon, who built and tested new CBDC payment flows on the platform. And now you're starting to see the massive network form out around CBDCs as well. So this is what Gilbert Verdian had to say about a CBDC and privacy. The central bank does not care how much money people spend on sandwiches. Take a look.
There's an opportunity to really solve some of the legacy issues with a new form of money, a new form of infrastructure. And one of those issues is privacy and fraud. There's been a kind of a naive view that central bank digital currencies are for spying on consumers and businesses. We can categorically state the central bank does not care how much people spend on sandwiches. It's not their mission. The central bank is there to govern resilience and to make sure the system is in place. What is happening is the same rules of AML, KYC are going to be applied to central bank currencies as they are today to any other form of money from commercial banks. And the rules that they have to follow will be exactly the same for consumers and businesses and the commercial banks themselves. So from a consumer perspective, you're going to get a better form of protection with a new form of money because privacy is going to be intact in the money itself. And that also allows us to protect fraud before it even happens. Because there's, as we've seen, fraud is an exponentially growing problem. The more we throw money at it and the more solutions we throw at it, the bigger it gets. And we've been battling fraud for decades. But in this new form of technology, we can actually build in fraud and protection at the money, at the network level, so everyone gets the benefit of protection rather than individual banks. And coming from the payment system, it was very difficult to tackle fraud because every bank has their own siloed view of the system. They can see what's coming into their network and leaving their network, but they can't see the holistic fraud. This way, with privacy-enabled CBDCs, your personal data is not going to be on-chain. That's going to be, regulated. And what is going to happen is you're going to have a holistic view of fraud that you can protect against for the first time.
So he's saying that you're going to have privacy with a CBDC, but it's going to protect you from fraud at the same time. But then he talks about KYC, know your customer, which means that you will also have to have a digital ID in the future to access a CBDC at the same time. So if you listen to Gilbert Verdian, he's kind of on track with the way things should go. Let's just hope it goes down that path. Here in the U.S., we need to have privacy laws put in place around a CBDC or no one will ever utilize it. I think overseas, they're definitely going to push it full steam ahead, especially in the EU and the UK. So Quant's QNT surges 7% on Ripple's heels. Bank of England reveals CBDC partnership. So they're calling Ripple rival Quant. And these two cryptocurrencies are not fighting each other. I just talked about this in an XRP video. Everybody thinks XRP versus XLM, QNT versus Ripple, and so on and so forth. But that's not what's going on. They have different use cases. When that new financial system rolls out, all of these cryptocurrencies are going to play their own part and they're all going to work together. That's why it's always important to diversify if you're in crypto as well. But I wanted to share that with you around CBDCs because right away, if I just told you the big news around QNT, you would say, oh, so now all of a sudden you're pro-CBDC. No, I'm not pro-CBDC until privacy laws get put in place. And even here, you could see how Ripple will be tied in with QNT in the future in that massive network that's building out. So Nexera and QNT, indeed, few can comprehend. Utility token, any-to-any, all-to-all, chain agnostic, future-proof. And again, QNT and Nexera are going to work together as well. So if you invest in Nexera, you should hold a little bit of QNT and vice versa. But what I always liked about QNT is that they actually make you utilize the QNT token. So if you want to use Quant's network, you have to have QNT. And that's what always made me believe that in the future, there's going to be a shortage on QNT and the price is going to be sitting at some astronomical price. That's how you would get to the 5- and 6-digit QNT of the future. QNT, tokenization explained by Quant Network. You got to take a listen to this because tokenization is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry in the future.
The world is waking up to the power of tokenization. From currencies to carbon credits, real estate to shareholdings, any asset can now be represented digitally by a token. Central and commercial banks, asset managers and companies of all sizes are embracing the benefits of these digital assets and improving liquidity, cost efficiency and transparency as a result. But until now, creating secure tokens and managing them required a high level of investment and specialist knowledge unique to each blockchain, and any mistake could expose your assets to risk. Now, with Overledger Platform from Quant, you can create and deploy enterprise-grade secure smart tokens for any use case on any chain. All of this with zero coding, and your tokens will always be blockchain agnostic and behave as you determine. And there's no compromise on security or functionality. Overledger embeds trust and adaptability into the tokenization process of our function-rich smart contracts, so you can leverage the power of tokenization with confidence and create the future. Overledger Platform, the enterprise standard for building on blockchain.
You know, at first we had cross-border payments. CBDCs were all the talk. Then ISO was talked about. Tokenization is the next step. And I think tokenization could be bigger than everything combined, because the average person is going to be tokenizing their car in the future. Anything of value you're going to want to tokenize. And I think it's going to expand and grow over time. And QNT is going to be at the heart of all of that. And it's going to gain so much value from it as well. QNT will be big for Europe, regulated as utility token in UK, Switzerland, EU, MiCA. Confirmed to be working with Bank of England, BIS, Project Rosalind, headquartered in London. Nexi as a key partner, largest payments operator in Europe. You know, MiCA is the next step for the EU, because that's going to give regulatory clarity around crypto. So any of these ISO coins can excel and expand over there. Here in the US, not so much. Everything's held back because of the SEC. I think everything is going to start overseas. I mean, everything. Because we're going to be left behind here in the US thanks to the SEC and this corrupt government we have going on right now. But over there, you're going to get a first look at a CBDC in action. And I said that all along the way as I was making videos around it, because over there, everything is crypto friendly. LACChain is a Quant Network partner and is using Overledger architecture. 8 million registers for a real use case, but QNT is only CBDC. Nobody uses it and token isn't needed. So you see here through LACChain, a real world use case. Today we have more than 8 million records on LACChain. I highlight the case of 50-year-old Miss Magdalena, who for the first time, and thanks to LACChain today, we can provide her with an identity and access to financial services for the first time. And again, like I said earlier, you're going to need a digital ID to access banking in the future, because everything is going digital. We are in the fourth industrial revolution, and it's just getting started. We're so early yet. So all the people that ever said that QNT was a scam don't understand exactly what QNT is or does. They don't understand the utility behind it. And real world use cases are going to pop up along the way. Then you'll get to see how QNT is used in the real world at the same time. But again, the price is still very cheap compared to where we're going. And people still don't understand that. They take a look at the price of QNT and they think it's expensive, and it's really not. And you know, I try to make videos. I show growth around certain networks. I show you how the future is starting to come about. You know, 2 years ago, you would have looked at CBDCs and said, that's 10, 20 years down the road. But it's only 18 months away. 2025 is supposed to be that massive year for crypto. 18 months from now. I still think this market's going to take off before that even happens. I think it's going to all start at the end of 2023 or sometime between now and the end of the year. But we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. I want to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.